Guys, welcome back to Lights, Camera, Whatever. Let's jump into it. Now, for today's topic, we're going to talk about the movie American Girl. That's right. It is a Taiwanese movie named American Girl. So if you go to Netflix right now and get those finger joints, now don't crack your fingers. I know some of you got some old people out there. So if you go to Netflix right now, type in American Girl. That's right. American Girl on Netflix. This is Lights, Camera, Whatever. And we're going to jump into exactly what is the whatever part. So let me read the description. You know how we do it. And it does have English subtitles. I won't put you in the pain like that. I won't hurt you. All the things that I'm introducing, all the films and drama will have English subtitles. I won't hurt you like that. Let's jump into the description. When her mother gets sick, 13-year-old Finn moves back to Taiwan, I guess you know where she's from already, where she struggles to fit in amid the 2003 SARS epidemic. Let me read that one more time. When her mother gets sick, this is part one. We're going to have a part two because there's so many things to talk about. When her mother gets sick, 13-year-old Finn moves back to Taiwan, where she struggles to fit in amid the 2003 SARS epidemic. I got to jump into this first question. How to communicate with your child who doesn't speak the same language? My God. I mean, imagine you had a son or daughter and they just spoke another language. I would just, because in the film, she's coming back to Taiwan, right? She grew up most of her time in the States. So the father is Taiwanese, the mom is Taiwanese, but the mom took them there to the States, right? This is the setting, the environment in the movie. And when they come back, right, they do speak a little bit of Chinese, but when you're in a place so long, you don't even want to speak the other language because you're so used to speaking this language, which is English, in America, right? You've acclimated, and my students, you better remember what that word is. You've acclimated to American life and communication and everything, the whole system of communication, right? And then you come back to Taiwan. Actually, because I grew up in the States, and then when I'm in Taiwan, it's still a challenge, right? Because I have to kind of briefly construct my sentence when I'm speaking in Chinese because it is so completely different from English. The whole language of Chinese, Mandarin Chinese, is different from English, right? So I'm always, had this little slight glitch or, the slight, moment where I need to, okay, let me fix this sentence before I say it because I can't say things in an American way. So the question says, how to communicate with your child who doesn't speak the same language? I literally don't know, but I got to know your opinion. And that's exactly what I'm asking that question. Imagine you were speaking to your child and you say, hey, what do you want to eat? And he's like, danbing. He's like egg cake or whatever, and he's like, okay, so where you want to go today? Well, I want to go to Gongyuan. And he's like, he's saying park in Chinese. And everything he says is in he understands you, but he's just speaking in a different language, right? I mean, how would that impact your relationship, honestly speaking? How would that impact? When you and the child that you created can't speak the same language. But honestly, guys, I think this situation is out there. In a lot of situations, right? One parent is here, one parent is there. Divorces happen, guys. Guys, wake up. Divorces happen. And there's a lot of situations where it's not a divorce, right? It's just parents are, for work purposes, work-related purposes, in different separate locations, right? So what would you do? If your child did not speak the same, your child, the one that you put on this earth, right? This beautiful blue earth, didn't speak the same language. I don't know, but I am super curious about what you would say if you were fully Mandarin speaker and your child only spoke English, vice versa. You're like an American, British, Canadian, Australian parent and your child only spoke Mandarin Chinese. You probably would freak out, right? You probably couldn't even bring this child to a birthday party because you know how parents like to show off their kids and they're just looking at you like, I don't know what this woman talking about. But what would you do in that situation? Now, the next one says, if one parent has a good opportunity, work opportunity, in another country that's better for the kid's future, what to do? Guys, this is a question I always even ask myself. I mean, we can't be selfish, right? We can't, and we do in life even though we don't want to, there are certain situations where we do have to come to a compromise and we do have to make a sacrifice. I do highly believe that. But if one of the providers for the family is supporting the family financially in the best way from one location, this is realistically speaking, and a lot of people's families are probably like this, and they're making a very, very substantial amount of income from one location, but the better educational resources are in another location geographically. What do you do, right? This would have to be because sometimes the education system in certain places is just not what you want, right? And you could have went through that education system as a child, and the limitations, the constraints on the parameters of how far this education will help you, and also how far this education will limit you, right? So that is a very important question, but I think kids come first, right? And then later, you and your partner, if you guys are willing to communicate openly without attacking each other and killing each other like sharks in the ocean, you guys can discuss, okay, how to, but then there's a question of your love with that partner. Now, if there is no love with that partner, right, and you guys are just here for the kids, then I guess it's more open to kind of separate and live in different countries because actually there's no love. There's no reason to lie to each other, right, if there's not love. But if you guys are in love, right, I think that there should be a bilateral willingness, right? There should be a mutuality between both of you to kind of discuss, okay, what are we going to do? You're making a lot of money here, but the better education is here. And to pay for that education overseas here would be an arm and a leg. And if you don't know what that means it's just exorbitant. And if you don't know what that means it's out of this world crazy, right? So it's a crazy expensive. So the thing is that what to do if one of the parents is making a really, really good income here and a really, really, skyrocketing career here, but the education, the resources, it's just not the best, right? So think about that. I don't have an answer, right? But I do know that this is a very, very important topic. I know that, right? Because this could possibly happen in these kind of, biracial families, right? Where one is from different nationalities, right? So one could be American, one could be Taiwanese, one could be German, right? One could be British or whatever. So it could be anything, right? So the thing is that you have to be willing to. My only advice is that you have to be willing to communicate. That's all. That's all I'm saying. If you're not willing to communicate, everything will crumble like Jenga. Now, the next one says, could you survive a long distance marriage? Guys, I have to be honest. If you're in love, I'm a person who loves love. If you're in love with someone, yes, people have business trips. I totally respect that. That's just the way of the world. People have business trips. But if you're overseas for like 6, 7 months, 8, 9 months, I mean, and then you've probably been someone for a couple years, 3 years. I mean, that's still, for me, when people say, 7, we've been together. I mean, guys, if you're with the right person, 7 years could feel like you just started yesterday. It could feel like you just started yesterday, but you're with the right person. And then, you're always, when you're with the right person, the time is always limited because you just want to be with them so bad, but there's always something, right, that separates you. So I think that it kind of depends on the timing of how long you guys kind of be. I mean, if you're going to been together for like 20, 30 years, I mean, but if you're really in love, I would still say, no, I don't want a long distance. I would just try to do my best to go be with that person as much as possible. Of course, it's not the same. You just want to wake up in the morning and cuddle, or you just, hey, I miss you. I'm coming home from lunch. Let's have a quick coffee and walk in the park. That's not going to happen because you're literally on the other side. I mean, if we're teleporting like in Star Trek, okay, understand, but we're not. We're not there yet. We're not, flying to the other side of the world in particles, right? We're not there yet. So we don't have the teleportation, technology yet, maybe in the future. I don't know. But for me personally, a long distance relationship, yes, I think I could try, but I really don't want to. I think I could try, but a long distance marriage, I probably couldn't. I probably couldn't. If I'm really, really, truly in love with someone and I'm a lover, if I'm in a relationship, I would be into that person, right, fully, committingly, devotingly. But and they have to work on the other side of the world for like 2-3 years. I mean, come on, guys. It just fades. It just fades. So that's just for me. Remember, I'm not encouraging or stimulating anyone to take a certain opinion. That's just me, right? So the question is, could you survive a long distance marriage, right? Now, the second question is kind of for the kids, right? But it has to do with the parents, right? Should kids be allowed to dress in their own style in school? I say yes, because in the movie, the girl has to cut her hair, right? And I'm pretty sure the Taiwanese listeners know about this. You have to keep it a certain length, and you have to wear like a certain height of the skirt. I do respect that. Girls should be respectable what they wear. But I think to force every single child in the school to wear the exact same clothes, I guess there's some type of principle to that. I mean, you don't want other kids to be jealous. From that perspective, I do understand, because there could be some rich kids who are coming in like, hey, with Jordan shoes or Louis Vuitton, like they're like 8 years old, like with Louis Vuitton, right? And I'm pretty sure their parents can afford it, and multiple more Porsche, Taycan electric cars. I totally understand that. But from that perspective, I totally understand, right? I totally understand if you want to do uniforms. I totally understand. But there should be a couple days out of the week to give the kids a little bit of room to breathe. I agree. I agree with myself. You're probably like, who do you agree with? I agree with myself. The thing is that what it does is that it kind of takes away the sense of creativity. I think kids should be able to dress. If you want to wear purple and yellow socks, whatever. That's exactly how you feel today. I do appreciate growing up in the American education system. You could wear whatever you want. I almost had a little, admission into a private school, but I think my dad overnapped and we were like late to the meeting or something. And in the end, I ended up staying in the same school, which I'm happy that he overnapped. I remember that day very clearly. But I wanted to kind of change to try to the private school, because I had some friends there and I wanted to kind of be with them. It was a private school and I was in a public school, and in the U.S., like the student body comes from multiple places of a city. So you could, it's just wild, right? I went to a high school called Westlake High School. Westlake High School was in Atlanta, Georgia. It was wild. Just like a lot of high schools in Atlanta, it was wild. It was vibrant. It was dynamic. And again, I'm going to use my favorite word. It was off the chain, right? It was crazy. So should kids be allowed to dress in their own style in school? I would say half and half. Because I know some people, think about this, right? There are some people who don't have the resources to buy to purchase certain types of clothes, right? Purchase certain types of shoes. I understand that. And when you're in class, when you don't have that type of money and you see someone with a shoe, more expensive than your house, yeah, you start to ask questions. And then you go back home and challenge your parents to say, hey, how come I don't have the new Jordan Z599s or whatever they call them? The new Zion shoes, but if everyone is like in the same clothes, there's less discrimination and less hate. Now for the hair, I don't know why I have to cut the hair. I have to ask about that. Some girls don't want to cut. It's girls in general don't want to cut their hair. So it just doesn't matter what country. A lot of girls around the world just don't want to cut their hair. I don't know why they have to cut to a certain length. I have to jump into that. But if you know why, just kind of type in the comment section. I really want to know. I'm not really sure. I didn't dig into that. But my question was more geared toward the attire of, having to dress a certain way. Now the next one says, should you move to another country if you're not satisfied with the education? Guys, if you financially have the resources and in America, we say the financial cushion. If you have the financial cushion to move to another country to put your kids in the right or suitable education system that you think is better for them, remember that is better for them, not because you think is better for them from your perspective, but that is actually better. Let me repeat that. Not what you want because it's actually better. I would say, yeah, if you have the financial resources. Now, if you don't, then you better get that YouTube open and you get these online classes and you get that child into the right direction. But if you have the financial resources, and you're able to, a lot of my clients here have actually sent their kids to boarding school. I really think it's kind of a little bit early, but that's kind of the way of the world right now, sending kids to boarding school. You can't really be with them. They have to grow up really early. But what it does, it connects them with all type of diverse cultures and backgrounds, right? So that is a good experience for them, but where's the parent? Where's the help? Where's growing up? Like, and they come to see you like for winter, summer, and things like that. But that's kind of like how it's going to be. So you have to ask yourself, am I going to experience, or am I going to let them experience this type of lifestyle that early? Or I'm just going to, let them later, right, in life do it, like college. But there's actually a lot of my clients who are very wealthy, and their kids are in private boarding schools in other countries. So this is happening. But for education purposes, if you're not satisfied with the education in here, I totally understand. A lot of foreign people are talking about that a lot. They're saying like they are not happy. Nothing against Taiwan education system. It is what it is, right? I have nothing against it, but it's your child too, right? If you're not happy, totally understand. Now, the next thing it says here, so that was the question. Should you move to another country if you're not satisfied with the education? The next one. Okay, it's a little bit, okay, but I got to jump into the whatever. I have pressure even reading it. If you have some underlying health condition, when should you tell your kids and how to tell your kids? This is connected to the movie. This is why I say that. This is connected to the movie. I honestly don't know. Because the backlash and the way that the kids in the movie were like using it against the mother, I don't know. I would be busting some heads. Because that was crazy how but you can't really blame, because kids have bad mouths. Like, that's just universal. Kids have like nasty mouths. This is nothing about like Taiwan, US. There's kids around the world who they learn a certain vocabulary from their classmates or from the community or from the, source of entertainment that you allow them to watch. And that's what happens, right? So that's exactly what's going on. Now, the thing is that if you have some condition, I'm raising these questions, guys, because I also want to know. Like, I'm healthy, everything is fine, but in general, you have to know when it's a good time to discuss with your kids certain situations, and you should be talking to your partner about that. If you're a single parent, okay, I understand. This is a self question, but if you are, with a partner, you and your partner should discuss this, right? Remember, fate is fate, right? But that doesn't mean you should just throw it in your kid's face and say like, I have this type of, health condition, so love me more. You can't use this, right? You have to balance when it's a good time to discuss this and communicate this underlying health condition so that they understand and that you guys can all get on the same page. That's my best advice. I don't know a perfect time when. But I would say for how, I think first, talk to your partner, discuss it, open willingness, communication. We talked about that, or it could just destroy everything. Open willingness, and discuss the right timing of when to discuss this question with your partner or with your child. I don't know. If they're really, really small, I really don't know. But if they're older, like 9, 10, 11, come on, guys. These kids are parents. These kids are grown up. They're grown up, right? Now, for the last one, should education be systematic or more experiential? Of course, that would be the latter. It would be B. It would be experiential. I think systematic education, guys, we're not producing robots. We don't want to produce robots. Yes, we want them to learn certain things and train certain things and like take the fundamentals and the basics. But to be honest, experiential education is way better, right? You're learning things. You're touching things, you're holding things, you're feeling things. But if it's just like systematically like memorizing, and then test, and then the next week you've exerted so much energy to that one test, right? By the time you get to the next test, you've totally forgotten because you're just basically following the same vicious cycle. You're just memorizing without actually absorbing. This is a problem. So experiential education for me would definitely be the answer, because if I had my own school, I would create a school that was basically based on arts, that would be based on like creativity and performance. And when I say arts, I mean it's like maybe film and production and music, and the other would be like dance and theater. And then the other would be more like finance, right? Learning financial things, and also being a better human, right? Some people ask me what I would do if I won the lottery. That's exactly what I would do. I would create a school. Right. So should education be systematic or experiential? I definitely would have to say B. Guys, these are some really, really critical questions that we have to ask ourselves. And remember, The name of this movie is very easy to remember because there's no other Taiwanese movie called American Girl. There's no other movie. So type in on Netflix, after you go ahead and watch this video and subscribe, you got to subscribe and then leave your comments. Go onto Netflix right now, watch it, check it out. And guys, remember, I'm just sharing the psychology of life and love through Taiwanese film and drama. I'm not encouraging you to go enjoy the movie in the best way. I'm just saying, okay, I'm going to highlight some points, introduce it to you. You put your comments down under the video. We talk about it. I will answer your comments, and be nice out there. Don't be asking no crazy questions. Be nice. So that is American Girl. This is Lights, Camera, whatever. This is part 1. There's going to be a part 2, so you make sure you check out that video next time. So this is part 1 of American Girl, Lights, Camera, whatever.